A shipping company with a 51-year legacy. The second generation is taking over the helm during turbulent times. In this episode of Managing Asia, I get on board Pacific International Lines to talk to its executive chairman.
Save the budgets going out. Yeah, so all these
Pil Ssteo, or SS Ssteo, as he prefers to be known, is now captain of this ship. PIL, short for Pacific International Lines, is a family business that has been sailing for 51 years. Today, the biggest shipping line in Singapore. The second generation took over the chairman role from his father in April.
There's never such a thing as good time or best time or worst time to take over. But I believe he thinks I'm well prepared enough to take over the shipping group among all this volatility.
His father is 100-year-old YC Chang, the world's oldest billionaire. The shipping tycoon founded PIL in 1967 and was one of the first to break into China.
Well, my father started dealing with China, in fact, before he formed PIL. He was the part of the business delegation that went to China in 1956 under Mr. David Marshall. At the time, it's called the Singapore-Malaysia Federation. So when he formed PIL, his first so-called long-haul sailing was from China to the Middle East. So since then, we have been talking about China over the dinner table. When he traveled, I was in China. So it was a lot of mystery. So when I finished my O-level in December of 1970, he said, "Do you want to see China?" I said, "Yes." And the only way to go there at that time, in fact, Singaporean below 55 cannot go to China until the early 80s. So the only way is to go as a sailor. So I sailed on a ship end of December of 1970 to China for the first time, and I went again 1971 and again 1977. So the memory that brought back to me that it was a very poor country. Since then, the country has gone through tremendous changes. Now, people are very commercial. Competition is very fierce. 40 years ago, they learned from us. I think now we learn from them.
Where few dared to venture, PIL dived right in. It has grown to become one of the largest ship owners in Southeast Asia, with a big focus on Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. PIL was also an early mover into Africa.
Yes.
But, doing business in war-torn, conflict-stricken continent was always very challenging for you. Even one of your vessels were hijacked off the coast of East Africa. Why stick with Africa after all these years?
Well, when my father first started PIL in 1967, we were small private capital, not much. We don't have the means to compete with the big boys in the Europe or the US trade. So the way we pick is actually places like Africa and Middle East, and particularly Red Sea. At the time, China need to export goods to Africa, East and West. Then they cannot find shipping line to carry their goods because many of them were barter trade, project cargo. So PIL became the natural choice.
So you are getting the cargo growth, you are getting the money that rewards you for the sort of risk you're taking.
The risk and also the determination and persistency. Yes.
Do you remember the time your vessel was hijacked off the coast of East Africa?
Yes, I don't forget it. It's in 2009, in the middle of October.
Just how traumatic was it?
Well, when it happened, I got a phone call, and before that, you always thought that it would never happen to me. Right, my ops manager called me and said, one of our ships, pirates have boarded the ship. They are now escorting the ship back to Somalia. So my first reaction is, life goes on. Don't let this hijack affect our operation of the company. So the instruction is life goes on, but let's form a action team, disaster action team, to actually try to get the ship back. So the first thing that comes to mind is actually the safety of the men on board. So to make sure that the family were informed, make sure that no media go and disturb them, and we negotiate with the pirates. And we always tell them that safety of our men is number one. If you do any harm to them, forget about it.
So how long was the whole negotiation process?
75 days.
So how did you manage in the end to free the vessels and your crew?
At the end, we have to pay amount we cannot disclose. Then when they're free, the ship sailed to a nearby port. And we make sure that when they arrive at the home port, we have actually our manager in the local office to accompany the family to receive them. So I think the post-release, how to give them the treatment and all that is very important.
So what important lessons have you learned as a result? What precautions are you now taking?
We now, in those what we call high-risk area, we try to avoid, but if we have to go through, then we carry arm guards. Yes.
Last year, the shipping industry bounced back from a deep downturn. Both PIL and your Hong Kong-listed container manufacturer, Singamas, returned to profitability.
Yes.
But just when things were starting to come back, we're seeing this huge trade war between US and China. How are things looking now? How do you expect to do this year?
The trade war at the moment doesn't affect the cargo flow. If anything, the trans-Pacific volume is very strong. That could also be what we call upfront loading. People bringing goods in advance of tariff increase. But we think in the medium term, as long as America continue to consume, the supply chain will be altered. So we are seeing now, in fact, increasing amount of inquiries of factories relocating from China to nearby Vietnam, Cambodia, even Malaysia, Indonesia, and Bangladesh. So we think there will be disruption if a sudden tariff imposed. But overall, as long as consumption is there, right, so Americans continue to have their handphones, continue to have their shoes and clothes. In fact, the whole supply chain will be dragged longer. And the new location of production, their logistics are not as efficient as China. So in fact, the turnaround of ships will be longer. So the medium and long term, as long as trade volume remain or grow, in fact, the ship utilization will go up. For this year, first half, most of us did badly. One of the reasons is that during Chinese New Year, the cargo rate did not go down. So I think most of us got carried away. We thought that the cargo will come back off end of March this year. So none of us stopped our service. Some line charter more ship in preparation for the pickup. The pickup did not happen end of March. It only came around in May. So rates went down in second quarter, which should have gone up. But more important, the fuel price went up, bunker price went up. So it was a double whammy. So by May, many lines already calling for emergency bunker surcharge. Line came out to make statement to say that they will not have any sailing if it's not making money. So coming to second half, I think the results will be much better. One is that rates has continued to recover, also to partly offset the fuel price increase. More important, shipping lines realize the importance of maintaining a stable service is to have a reasonable return. So rates are still firming out as we speak this time.
Are they still fighting for market share?
I don't think so. We don't think anybody aggressively grabbing market share because we understand among the many lines is that they want to see, in a layman was money on the table. We have to, because the last few years bad trading result plus many lines have gone through M&A. A lot of money has been spent and money is getting more expensive. So I think sense is returning, common sense returning.
So this recovery we're seeing in the shipping industry,
Yes.
it's still on track in your view?
Yes, yes. And I think